The Beatles rocked the Kremlin because they changed the hearts and minds of millions of kids in the former Soviet Union. Kids who were longing for some excitement, for some freedom, for some joy in their boring lives, and their music arrived just at the time when life in the Soviet Union was very dreary indeed. And gradually they began to change the hearts and minds of those kids. It's interesting because the Soviet Union and Russia generally is a place where culture has always played a very important part in producing change, whether it's poets or painters or artists or playwrights. Culture, maybe because there was no other way to produce change, culture was very important, and the Beatles fitted right into that. It was just a complete accident. I mean, I was very young, making tiny little films about things going in the region where I was working in the northwest of England. And one of the things we were doing was about music, and I heard about these kids before they'd made any records, and we went and made that little 2-minute film, which is the only thing there is of them before the world knew about the Beatles. Who could have known anything like that? I did know that they were tremendously exciting. I mean, really extraordinary, and it wasn't really my music. I was and am a modern jazz fan, but it was so exciting. When I drove away from that filming, I had to stop the car and be sick by the side of the road because it came right up through the linings of your stomach. It was really unforgettable. So nobody could have predicted that they'd go around the world in the way that they did, but very, very soon after that film, within a year, they were huge all around the world. I think I've had huge curiosity about the world, and I grew up at a time in television where everything was changing. The new technology allowed us to go and make documentaries in a much more free way than you'd been able to do before. You could pick up the camera and run with it, and everything was evolving and changing. So that was another huge piece of luck for me, that I was growing up as a young television maker at exactly that moment when the Beatles were conquering the world and lightweight film technology was making documentary possible. And what's most interesting for me is the feeling that I have that it's at the edge of everything. It's partly Europe, it's partly the Balkans, it's partly, Croatia. It's a real kind of borderline place, which gives it extraordinary interest for someone like me who's been interested in this part of the world for the last quarter of a century. It's extremely intriguing to be here and see how that has worked here.